All right, we're at the home stretch. I'd like to now introduce the moderator for our final panel, which will be actually zooming this panel in that we're really excited about. The title of the panel is The Reynolds Journalism Institute Pilot, The Publisher's Take, and it'll be moderated by Randy Picht. Just a little bit about Randy, our moderator. Randy is served as the executive director of the Donald W. Reynolds Journalism Institute since 2012. During his tenure, RJI has overhauled its fellowship program, created a capacity to invest in media startups, become an incubator for new journalism organizations, and launched several new tools for reporters and editors. Prior to joining RJI, Randy worked closely with newspapers and other media outlets during a nearly 29-year career at the Associated Press. He is a former business editor for AP and has spent about half of his career working on the journalism side of that not-for-profit news corporative and half of his time on the business side. While he was a business editor from 1997 to 2000 at the cooperative's New York City headquarters, Randy directed coverage of the time the Dow Jones Industrial Average reached the 10,000 point mark. Think about it, that was a big deal back then. Randy spent several years prior to that assignment as a traveling expert helping newspapers, big and small, redesign and improve their printed stock tables and use new software to significantly reduce the amount of time required to paginate that market information. Join me in welcoming Randy Picht and our outstanding panel of local media publishers.
Thank you, David, for that kind introduction and for organizing this important summit. I'm excited to be here and to be joined by three media executives with a strong history of informing, inspiring, and lifting up their communities. From Wichita, Kansas is Benita Gooch, publisher and editor of The Community Voice. Jamie Kane is publisher of the Times Weekly in Joliet, Illinois. And Nate Dillard is founder and publisher of Elevate Dayton. Thank you all for joining us today. As David mentioned, these three publishers have been courting investments from banks, CDFIs, and others who fund community development. They've also started positioning their businesses not just as advertising vehicles, but as strategic partners in those revitalization efforts. Their pilot projects all take slightly different approaches, but share the same strategy of reframing how community media is viewed by financial institutions and other community organizations. The pilots are part of RJI's larger Inclusive Media and Economies initiative led by Linda Miller that was launched in spring of 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic and rallies for racial justice have amplified the important and often life-saving role of community news organizations. But they also have put an enormous strain on their resources. If ever there was a time to figure out the role of local media in building more equitable, resilient economies, and the role of local economies in building more equitable and resilient local media, this is it. So let's get started. Benita, how about telling us a little about Community Voice?
Well, the Community Voice is a 28-year-old publication now. We've been around a while. And I would say this, that we started off in Wichita, Kansas, serving the African-American community there. And since then, we've expanded our coverage to include all African-Americans across the state of Kansas. And we moved into the major market of Kansas City metro area with its population of more than about 250,000 African-American community. And to serve these communities and establish our value proposition, We become a multi-platform publication with a digital-first approach. Digitally, we have an active website, social media, and YouTube channels, and several newsletters, all with a rapidly growing following. And we maintain a hyper-local focus on our news with contents focused around health, business, education, issues of the community, and a limited amount of sports. But our mission has and always has been about empowering our community.
That's great. Okay, so let's talk about the project. You're approaching this project from an education and engagement angle by partnering with local banks to host a Financial Freedom Expo. It's a great idea. So what are your initial goals for this event, and what are you hoping to get from the partnership, short and long term?
Well, again, first of all, we see this as an outreach of what we do in our publication. These are the kind of things we're always writing about. We're writing about economics and small business ownership and retirement and just buying homes, all those kind of things. So this is just, how do we take that and take it out to people engaged where they can get their hands on some experts other than just reading our articles. So it's a great opportunity for, we see our community partners to come in and have that same one-on-one partnership that they've been looking for from these organizations. So what we want to do is just continue to empower our community. We know that this type of project has been successful in doing that so far. By the way, this is a project we have done in the past. COVID kind of got in the way, but we're looking to come back even bigger and stronger. And
so for the partners, do you think, is there a short-term goal you think you can get out of the partnership? Well, the short-term goal, a short-term goal would be, again, helping us put on a really great expo, because, there's a lot of moving parts to that we can use some support on. I mean, we need really strong expert presenters. You don't want just anybody, but we do appreciate having people from the community too, but we love to have engaged people. There's supplies they can give us. There's just so many ways that the partners can help, but the partners can also help us by helping us as we move towards that. I keep saying this is really an outward engagement of our ongoing work. And so our validity comes from, I think, the reason we get these people is because we've been doing that kind of work, and supporting us in both ways is important. Okay, that's great. I also understand that part of your process was conducting a SWOT analysis. What'd you learn from that? Well, we've done, I don't know if you're talking about a SWOT analysis on ourselves, on our organization, or a SWOT analysis on the project. On the project, probably. Oh, on this particular project? Yeah. Okay, because we do a lot of those kind of things. Those are just, I mean, it's key to whatever. You have to look at how can you make something better always. Like the strengths of it, again, are our assets in bringing our community outreach and our community capital, social capital that we have. Some of the weaknesses, again, are that we do need to get the stronger presenters sometimes. And weaknesses are also dollars and cents to get those kind of people, always. Opportunities, we just feel like there's so many more topics we'd like to cover. And I think we're doing a good job, but we need to keep coming up with great, fresh topics over and over again. And the threats are COVID, and people not wanting to come back to events, but I think they're ready. They're going to movie theaters now. Right, that's right. That's how we so measure. Good. Okay. All right, thanks, Benita. Mm-hmm. Okay. Nate, you're up. Tell us about Elevate Dayton.
Yes, so Elevate Dayton amplifies unheard voices and inspires change to drive innovative solutions, and that will elevate the life and culture of the underserved communities of Dayton. And we're a digital platform in the Dayton area, and we allow the residents to share their perspectives through articles, podcasts, videos, and even photo galleries. We were founded in 2019 after an array of unfortunate events hit Dayton, Ohio. We had the KKK came and did a rally, which made national news that year. And then immediately after Memorial Day, there was 15 tornadoes that just touched down and decimated some like majority of the underserved part of town. And then several months later, there was a mass shooting where majority people of color were affected. And so after all of these things happened in 1 year, we started to hear in Dayton's 42% BIPOC community that most of the people didn't feel like they were heard. So we started elevatedayton.com, and we created a digital space where the underserved community, little known nonprofits and startups, and different change makers, activists could share their perspectives and not be hindered by like a lot of the mainstream media, certain mainstream media issues. So that's our story.
That's a good story. That's a good story. So it's an unfolding story.
Yes.
So you're planning a number of panel discussions and some reporting on how BIPOC, veteran, and women-led businesses and entrepreneurs in the Dayton area have been affected by the pandemic, what they're doing to rebound and what they need going forward. What motivated you to go in that direction? And how does this type of collaboration connect to your business and editorial goals?
So we were inspired. Our editorial goals are inspired by the Multicultural Media and Correspondents Association's BIPOC Media Incubator. We're their very first pilot, and we worked with Innovation Media Consulting Group to craft an editorial model focused on a campaign journalism approach. So every month we're going to focus on different topics like food access, healthcare access, and other issues that particularly affect our community. But we want to kind of report on that with data and with real people's stories, and show like that Dayton's a microcosm of like majority of what the U.S. is experiencing right now. So the reason why we chose that route with the RJI pilot was because myself personally, I just graduated from a program called the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And I have a consulting agency on the side, and we participated in that program this year. And I learned that a lot of the small businesses I was in that course with, they all kind of shared their stories, small business owners, about how they were trying to pivot, how they're trying to find access to capital, how they were trying to find resources and financial solutions to what they were experiencing during the pandemic. And I found out that Goldman Sachs works with an array of CDFIs and community colleges around the country to put on that program. I also, when my consulting agency, worked with the Michigan CRA Association, which is made up of about 30 CDFIs and banks. And in that, when I helped them put on their virtual conference, their annual conference, we helped them make it virtual this year because of COVID. And in that experience, I learned about CDFIs create equitable solutions for minority entrepreneurs, women, and veterans, and to have access to capital so they can have it for their businesses growth, and also for like home ownership and commercial lending for like commercial real estate. And so when I learned about that, and then MMCA connected us to RJI, it immediately hit me that this is a great opportunity to give these local entrepreneurs an opportunity to share their story about how COVID impacted their business, and then basically have them tell their story of how they pivoted, or what struggles they had to overcome. And we're hoping that this creates some kind of closure for like our community, because we had 2020 where COVID hit us abruptly. And now we're coming 2021 into 2022 where people are having more hybrid, events. So hopefully we can give our business community and other people in our community some kind of closure to understand that there is a way to continue through this.
Yeah, and I think it's a great idea to kind of start, to build that awareness on both sides for the small businesses, that there's help out there, but also from the banks and financial institutions to hear some of those stories. It makes them, makes it easier for them to get involved, I think. I think maybe that's the hope anyway, right?
Yes, sir. So basically, within our panel, we're going to have some BIPOC entrepreneurs tell their story. We're going to have women and veteran entrepreneurs tell their story. And then the third panel, we're going to have local economic stakeholders, including some of the CDFIs, kind of discuss the programs that they have for entrepreneurs during this time. And so those entrepreneurs that are going to be participating as speakers, and then also the community that's going to be at the event, they'll be able to learn that their CDFIs exist to create equitable solutions and help people in times like these. And we're hoping to kind of do this event to kind of show the CDFIs that Elevate Dayton can be like a conduit or a bridge for them to help the community understand who they are. So that's pretty much our goal with that approach.
Yeah, and so building on that, what kind of partnerships are you seeking with those institutions, and can you share some of your revenue goals with what you're working on?
Yes, so our goals are to be able to gain some sponsorship from we're currently speaking to Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, and they're coming in as a sponsor. We've been speaking to Lendistry, which is another CDFI bank that lends to minority entrepreneurs, and LIF. And so our goal is to bring in some sponsorship for this event, but also have some capital come in through this event where we can actually use that to help us scale our campaign journalism operations, and also pay more journalists of color to help us drive that narrative and accomplish that mission that we gained during the BIPOC media incubator with MMCA.
Yeah, so the sponsorships are, you're accustomed to that, but the capital is where we're kind of trying some new approaches, right?
Yes, and basically one of the things that we're hoping to, as I said before, the conduit and bridge, we're hoping to be the bridge between the local community and the CDFIs. And so hopefully this allows us to drive a long-term relationship with these CDFI players, and also like Goldman Sachs and other stakeholders, economic stakeholders like themselves, so they can know that usually their mission has a lot of big issues that they're focused on, and a lot of big things that everyday people don't even think about. So hopefully we can translate that. We want to show them that we can translate their big mission to the local everyday people, so they understand the importance of it, and that they can go to these organizations to get the help they need. Yeah,
that's terrific. Okay, Jamie, you're up next. What do we need to know about the Times Weekly?
The Times Weekly is located in the Joliet community, within Will County, which is in the metro area of Chicago. So we've been publishing since 1988, and I've been publisher since that time. Right now, the Times Weekly has evolved. We're more than a newspaper. We're digital and platform with strong relationships to the community. We've been a local community advocate for our community for all that time. We have a number of things that we're doing with our new digital platforms. We have a program, a virtual television program we're launching called Closing the Gap, and which is going to be focusing on a lot of the community initiatives that we're doing. Our new site is going to have environmental articles and digital. We'll be talking with people from the community on all these levels to bring them to gain more information about who they are today and how we can disperse all that information.
Okay, great. All right, so my first question, in just a few short months, you, like me, have gone from not knowing what a CDFI is to creating an ambitious 3-year initiative to highlight the work of CDFIs and other change agents, advocates, and community influencers who are committed to building equitable solutions that positively impact your community. What can you tell us about your plan? It's 3 years and has a lot of different elements to it.
Well, you're right. I didn't know much about the CDFIs, and it's been a learning curve for me, absolutely. But what I have learned, and I think it's very important, is, and I think it's going to be very beneficial to our community, is we need to have more businesses in our community, a lot more. We need to have more revenue, more ways that people can start a business. And the banks haven't been that, they haven't been that interested in helping small business grow here. And that's really critical. And I do believe that if we can grow our businesses, then our communities will grow, and which is critically important. And what I've learned about the CDFIs is that there's an opportunity there that we never knew about. And, I now have a better understanding of how it works in businesses. And I think that the opportunities will be endless. I don't think, and it's just so much I could say about it. I'm still learning. And we have partners now with banking partners that we had before. And they're now coming forward with talking about the CDFIs and really how we can share information. So our goal is really to do that in the community.
Yeah, and so can you talk a little bit about kind of your initiative of what you're thinking about doing in terms of how you're going to share that information?
Well, we have a number of programs that we are implementing, that we have started actually, partnerships with the banks, partnerships with other stakeholders, partnerships with community organizations that we already have partnered. We already have relationships with them, but this is a little different. We're forging partnerships where we now are the conduit to disseminating information, not just a newspaper, but we're a news source. We're a community, local news source, and community newspapers, publications, media. It's a real need for it. It's people are really hungry for it. There are publications that have gone out of business around me. We cover 9 communities. We just don't go to Joliet. We cover 9 communities within this county. So we're actually distributed around the region, and it's an opportunity where we can really make a bigger impact with the Black community, with the minority communities. And because we're where we are, we're pretty much a community newspaper, but we make sure that we represent the communities of color.
Right. And I think the idea you were talking about, where you had some of these relationships, but this is kind of changing the relationship, and you're looking for ways to do that. Has this kind of created different ways of thinking about your role in the community in terms of as you look at how you need to build different relationships?
Well, it does and it doesn't. I mean, it does in that I believe that we need to do better. We took a look at our community and our readership and what we're doing, and we want to make sure that we're doing things and meeting people where they are today. So we are doing some things that, like I said, building better relationships, I think, with the banks. Now that I have a better understanding of what really is going on at the bank and how it is a real integral part of the community, our relationships are partnerships with them. We're going to be able to disseminate the information, what the community wants, through the journalism we write, through the stories we write, through the, we'll have events and things. We want to have we're going to have listening sessions where people are able to hear what the community needs. And through our Closing the Gap program, we're going to be talking with these CDFIs. We're going to be talking with the banks and the community, and letting them say what it is what they're looking for, what they need. So I think we come to the point where we're a conduit. We're in the center, and we're the disseminators of all of this information. Then it comes back to, so everybody learns what it is they need to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think, you talked about being a small business, working with small business. Nate did as well. I think, all of you are small businesses, and you can write about small businesses, but at the end of the day, you should be treated as a small business as well. And so I think that's a good point. So for the group, whoever wants to answer this, or maybe all of you want to just chime in, what piece of advice would you give to publishers or to those working in the community development finance who are looking to partner?
I was going to say that one of the things I would like to share with the CDFI and community development finance space is that it's very noble, the mission that most of the CDFIs have, which is to create equitable solutions. But like Jamie and yourself were saying, a lot of people don't even know what a CDFI is. So working with a publication, if it's a traditional publication or a more new media publication like Elevate Dayton, to communicate to these communities that you are there is a very good idea, because our publications, our editors, our journalists, we know how to boil it down to a certain level of understanding, and also put it in a palatable format. If it is if it's an article, podcast, or video, or some other format, an event. So our publications make a great partner to help you share your mission, your products, your programs with these communities, and actually help you meet your goals of your organization. So that's pretty much what I would like to share.
Okay, that's good.
I'll add some too. I mean, I think Nate made a really good point that a lot of people don't know what CDFIs are, but I would also say for them to come along with the media and engage with them, but think creatively. Just don't think of newspapers as advertising only. It's time to pass that. I think we're getting more creative because we have to, and hopefully they're getting more creative because they need to find ways that are win-win for everybody. Win for them, win for our readers, and win for us. I mean, obviously we are small businesses and we want some wins too. But yeah, I think let's get creative. It doesn't have to be about an ad. Partnerships. Let's do some live remotes at your event. I mean, there's so many platforms we have now. We're just not a print publication. Any of us are anymore. We have, digital. We have video. We have podcasts. Jamie's having a TV show. So there's just so many creative ways now so I'd like them to stop thinking bad that newspapers are these old, stale organizations. We're not that anymore. If the newspaper is still here, they're here because they've gotten real creative and a way to survive and work with their community and with potential financial organizations that can help them.
Yeah.
Could I add something to that?
Yes, Jamie.
So the question you were asking, what would I recommend to a publisher? Mm-hmm. I would recommend that they obviously, seek, start attending, start talking to their bankers, start looking at some of these opportunities that could be, and I mean, right now, if I was to say what I would suggest is there's so many things happened since COVID. So many things have opened up, so you can see a lot of what's going on and what you never knew. I'm honestly just really amazed at all of the opportunities that I didn't know about. And I would just say to them, make sure that they're talking with their banker and find out more opportunities that might be available. I think I would suggest that. And I mean, for me, if it hadn't been for this initiative, I wouldn't have known about CDFIs. And I think maybe affiliating themselves with organizations that are built wealth building, those are ways. So I'm still learning, and I would have more to add on what I would give them, in terms of suggestions. But I'm still learning more of that myself. But I would say if I had, done it differently, I would have definitely sought out more of the banking information and other financial places where I could gain more information.
Yeah, and we're almost out of time. But just real quickly, what do you think is the first thing that they could do? Pick up the phone and call somebody in their community? What's the first thing you guys did?
For example, when I started working with Linda and David Beckford, David Morgan on this, I just Googled, CDFIs in Central Ohio local area. And I found an entire website that had all the CDFIs in Ohio, and they all were in a coalition. And then I learned that there were 2 in my local area. And what's crazy, what we learned about in this program is that there's relationships that we have that we just didn't even know we were connected to those people. So I went and reinvigorated and activated some of the old relationships some people that I already knew who worked in those organizations, but I didn't know it was a CDFI. So I guess I would say that that's a great suggestion. Just look up like CDFIs in your state, your city, and your community, and you'll probably find a very vast list of these equitable lenders out there.
Yeah, well, yeah, all roads lead to Google, but that's good advice because you never know what's out there. So, okay, so this was a very quick tour of a very exciting project, and I appreciate you guys joining us today, Benita, Jamie, and Nate. And if you want more information on them or about the project, you can check out the MMCA digital program that they prepared for this event. And anyway, thanks for joining us. And if you want information about our initiative, you can go to rjionline.org. So, all right, thanks.
Thank you so much, Randy, and thank you to the amazing publishers who took time out of their busy schedules to work with us on this project. So we are at the close of our program, and I want to thank you for tuning in to our summit and for being part of this call to action. I want to leave you with what was our mantra, and that is, who owns the story controls who wins and who loses. So that's why this project for us is so important, because community media is a vital piece of telling that story for communities of color, BIPOC communities across America. But as you've heard throughout the day, they are in dire need of funding and support. And we believe that community media can provide that support in a win-win solution. So I will leave with one ask, and that ask is the same ask I posed to the panel. We are building a coalition, and we would like to have people in your organizations, if you could identify who we can reach out to and let them know about us for them to be part of this effort. We need your resources, we need your idea, and we need your support to continue this momentum. I encourage you to follow us at MMCA-DC on social media. Visit our website, www.mmcadc.org, to get more information about this panel, but more importantly, about our efforts coming up to move the needle on this important issue. Thank you again to our sponsors. Thank you again to our partners. And most of all, thank you to all of the amazing speakers that joined us today and our audience, of course. Take care.